So who remembers demo discs? Back in the time before YouTube, back in the time before Steam, back in the time before essentially Ninite online utility repository websites, there was demo discs. So this is going back basically to 2000 era, where that was peak video game or peak PC gaming for me, where I was in my teens, had nothing but time to play games, and most of the time it was playing Unreal Tournament on a dial-up connection connected to my ISP, which then gave me free bandwidth, as opposed to if I connected to another ISP, it would end up charging me for it. Yep. So considering this is back before unlimited connections, that if you're using basically your game or your ISP would have game servers, and you can connect to them and use free bandwidth. Granted, you'd still be charged for the dial-up call, but while you're there, you'd be able to play games. And those particular ISPs, some of them hosted file servers that you're able to download demo discs from, or drivers or utilities. I remember on the one that I was on, EGN, or aka FTEL, you could essentially put a file request in. You'd send a link to them to GameSpy, or go, here's a GameSpy link, I would like this file hosted, and one of the moderators would eventually download that for it, put it on the ISP, and you'd be able to download it free of charge. But if you couldn't get that, where else would you get the games from? That's where the PlayStation magazines fell into their own world, where especially if some games turned freeware, you could potentially have two discs on the magazine, one of them being a complete free game. Age of Empires 1 was one like that many people actually got. And the biggest one for me was Unreal. I got the original Unreal game on there, where originally I was going to purchase it from a local store for about $20, and I thought, it's still a bit too much for me, being I was about 14 at the time. I had a look and saw the monthly magazine I always buy, and it turned out it had it. Exact same day, bought it for $13, got my demo disc, got my magazine, and most of all got my copy of Unreal, which, a 14-year-old with no money to actually buy games, apart from the demo discs, the monthly magazine with the demo disc, it was a pretty good win. Where nowadays everything's all live services. So even just playing simply Counter-Strike, like the amount of hours I've invested in that game nowadays, but where their main money's coming from skins, they don't really care about the game anymore, as opposed to something like Fortnite, where it's still also about the skins. But you could essentially jump on a game with mates and just all download the one game, and next day download a completely different esport game that's free, play that as much as you want. Granted, the amount of data and bandwidth is considerably more, where back in the day I'd download an update for Unreal or Unreal Tournament. That was another game that probably copped most of my playing, was Unreal or Unreal Tournament. Two different games. Oh, let's get the bastard. There we go. And if there was... it's almost like today, actually, where you go to play your favourite new online game, and you've all of a sudden discovered you've got a 20 gig download for the patch. This is almost the same, except this was back when dial-up was the key, or the king. And I'm thinking, if you want to accuse people of hacking back in the day, if you have had someone that had cable internet connected to a server full of people with dial-up, it would just basically be like they're cheating. The amount of rubber banding deficit you would get from that would be ridiculous. You'd hop in there and you'd look at the ping. I remember the best latency I ever got on dial-up was probably about 120 milliseconds to a server that was physically 3 kilometers away, or not 3 hours away, 300 kilometers away. And joining that, it basically felt like you were the king. Oh, my mouse scroll is screwing me over. And then all of a sudden you'll have someone join that's been playing, or that's got cable internet, and basically you'd say goodbye to your kill streak. They'd hop on and they'll have a 25-40 millisecond ping, and they're killing you around corners, which definitely sucked a lot. One other mod that I remember playing was Strike Force, which was on for the original Unreal Tournament, and it was essentially a fast-paced clone of Counter-Strike before Counter-Strike got big. Granted, it was when Counter-Strike was growing, but not at its peak that it got to. Granted, I didn't have Half-Life 1 at the time, so I couldn't download Counter-Strike, so I couldn't play Counter-Strike, but I wanted to. Granted, I mostly remember playing that many hours in Strike Force, playing that against bots because my internet connection wasn't great. And that's where I spent most of my time, playing bots. Put on music, headphones on, and just playing various mods. So, a little bit of reminiscing on the PC world side of things. Granted, there was also the PS1, but I won't cover that in this video. There we go, got him. Granted, some of the utilities was just shareware junk. Then you get other good ones that were actually pretty decent, but none of them actually stand out for what I... Oh, there we go. None of them really stand out, or memory serves me right with them. Every now and then you'd get like DVD decrypt on there. Oh, taken out. But yeah, that's a bit of reminiscing about PC demo discs. I'll catch you guys later.